evening and welcome to another edition of the FTTC podcast, sponsored by the Notre Dame Office of Sustainability, working diligently to reduce both the football team and your fantasy team's trash. We are your home for breaking news and breaking balls in the fantasy sports world. From touchdowns to tailgates, we've got it all covered with a dash of witty banter. I'm your host, Jason Stankiewicz, and am joined here today by the pride of Notre Dame, the outlaw, Mr. Steve Blazer. Steve, how you doing?
I'm good, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, we're excited to get you on. Obviously, there's a few rumors floating out there, a couple contentious things, but we're going to get your take on those, and looking forward to speaking with you.
Yeah, I'm happy to give my side of the story. I just want to come out here and be as honest as I can, and I think that as long as I do that, there's nothing that can be held against me.
We're looking forward to that, and I think people will love to hear it. We'll get to that a little bit later on, but let's go ahead and kick off with a recap of last season. You finished 8-6, which, was good enough for a fifth place finish. You're projected to finish second following the draft, so maybe a little bit of an underperformance relative to post-draft projections, but nobody really knows how those are going to go anyway. Do you feel that there was a move or two that you could have made that, might have put you over the edge and put you in contention last year?
That's a great question. I don't. I think I managed my team perfectly. Um, I was faced with a lot of injuries. I had a rough start to the season. I won a very good run, and I believe in the playoffs, I just came up against a buzzsaw. Played well the whole time. I think I was never too nervous during the season, which is really what I care about. And I've never been one to be big on trades. I'm active on the waiver wire, of course, but I don't really like the opportunity for someone to pull one over on me or get the best of me. So I like to avoid trades as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely a shrewd negotiator, and you mentioned the injuries you suffered. I'm looking back at your team from last year, and just based on your draft, obviously you lost Javonte Williams, a big loss there. One of your top RBs. You lost Cam Akers for the majority of the season, so you're pretty short on RBs for a while. You made do, obviously grinding it out, finishing fifth. So overall, I think probably a good job on the manager side. Now, the other big thing I want to talk about from last season was kind of the way things ended, and that was with the title game. Roadrunners Naz obviously matched up against the Disasters. Came down to a 2-point difference. The Disasters had Joe Mixon going. Obviously, DeMar Hamlin situation happened. Didn't get to finish the game. I wanted to get your take on Roadrunners Naz being declared the winner, and how you feel about that kind of end result there.
Well, clearly, Roadrunners Naz is representative of a lot of the problems in America today, supporting fascism as their manager does. Truthfully, I was not paying attention when it happened. I don't remember what I was doing, but I don't check the group me too often, and I don't think I really realized the weight of the situation until long after it had already been decided. I thought it was just a normal championship.
I mean, that's totally fair. I think, that's one of the things about fantasy, right? People tend to kind of check out once the season ends, and you end up hearing who is the champion. But I do want to get your take as well on some rumors there. There's some rumors that the Naz group provided some heavy investment to the commissioner through some back channeling. I'm curious if you think that may have swayed the decision, or if you think those rumors are even true or not.
I mean, that wouldn't shock me at all. I have heard those rumors as well. I, of course, don't know the full story. I wouldn't put it past either of them, either Crooked Kokoris or, of course, the fascist Brian Durrani. But what I would say is I heard that Danzig, coming off his probationary time last season, it appears he handled the situation admirably. He obviously is the bigger man physically and in this situation.
That's fair. Credit to Dan. I agree with you. I think he handled it with some great aplomb and really managed it well. Honestly, a noble loser.
Mm-hmm.
But let's move on. Let's move past last season and get into the off season a little bit. Obviously, it's a long off season, but looking back at some of your historical results here, you finished third, you finished fourth, you finished fifth. It's clear you're generally competitive. Is there an aspect to your game that you're focusing on this off season to really take that next step?
I did finish second as well once. Um, I lost to Eddie Farrell. He
Ah, the 2017 year.
It was a good year for me. Um, I think that I need to focus more on pre-draft. I think I generally come in running a little bit late, um, having forgotten that the draft is taking place. I think that happened last year and the year before. So I think maybe putting in a little bit of effort versus trying to sit on the waiver wire as much as possible during the season. Because I think that gets me to a point where I can go 8-6, I can make the playoffs, I can get fifth. But to really get over the hump, I think I either need to put in that effort pre-draft or get very lucky, like I've had happen a couple times. Um, I did have um, a practice draft in what I like to call a fake league that I don't care about at all. It's nothing to me. I would drop it in a second if I had to. Um, and so I saw kind of the flow of what I think some decent football minds would go with. And I think that has probably prepared me a little bit as well. So I think just putting in a little more effort ahead of the draft is what I really want to focus on this year.
Gotcha. Now, the other aspect of off-season training I want to touch on here, obviously our league has a weekly shotgun punishment, and you are traditionally one of the favorites for the fastest gun. Now, some in the media are speculating you may be entering the twilight of your gunning career and, could be slowing down soon. What kind of off-season training are you doing to stay in shape and keep up with some of the young guns?
I don't need to train.
No training. Wow.
No, 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 no. I'm just fast. I just have it. I'm built different, one of one. Yeah,
All
I
right.
could
Well,
I could do it now. It'd be very impressive.
I think all the gunning performances I've seen you have been pretty impressive, and we'll get some odds out before the season starts. But I gotta imagine there might be a minus next to your name.
Well, can I actually just say, kind of on that point, something that I take issue with in the league in terms of the guns, two things actually. First, and this I have less of a problem with because I understand that not everyone is as talented as I am. So when you spill half your beer, there's some people that will redo it. There's
Yeah.
others that don't. I think there needs to be some type of standardization in terms of when you finish your beer. You shouldn't just get to like throw it on the ground out of frame. You should have to like pour it on your head or something.
Put it over that. I like that. I don't hate that rule
Second,
at all.
and
Let's
more
hear it.
importantly, and this is one of my biggest issues with the Crooked Commissioner chorus, um, is that if you don't do a shotgun one day, you should have to do two the next day. You shouldn't just get to like pay some money into some random slush fund that can like end up affording like half of a large pizza somewhere. You should have to do two the second day and three the third and four the fourth. There's something very very wrong with both the cash bail system in America and Kokoris bailing himself out in the league when he forgets the shotgun.
So just to get that, just to get this clear, would you say the commissioner is soft on crime?
I would say that he goes by the motto of rules for thee and not for me.
I got to be honest. I like your gun idea. I think that's a fair punishment. There's nothing more frustrating than when we're out here gunning on a Tuesday morning before rolling into the office, and you got someone sitting on this thing till Thursday, no consequences, right?
None.
I got to say I agree with you. We'll talk a little bit more about gunning a little bit later on. I'll get some predictions for you, but let's move on to the draft. Um, Now, looking back at some of your draft history and the last 5 years, it's been in the first round, RB, 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 RB. Nothing but RBs in the first round. This year, obviously, a bit more wide receiver heavy. You think you're gonna be continuing the RB trend, or you think you might mix it up?
I think that there are a lot of very good players at all positions, and I'm drafting third by the grace of God. Um, and I'm just going to see what the first two picks do, and I'll go from there.
I mean, you really have three top end players this year, right? You got Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase. Those are considered kind of the de facto top three. Is there a particular one of those you might be leaning toward? You don't have to give us the answer. Just curious if you have a guy in mind who you would love to see at that three slot,
I would say
or maybe
this.
honestly, maybe it's even a surprise. Maybe it's not one of those three. Maybe you're going to go a different direction.
I'm not, certainly. It'll be one of those three. In terms of who I would want the most, I think that I'm a little scared of Justin Jefferson. Um, do you recall who had him last year?
Uh, Let me see here. I can pull that up. I think it
Because if
could.
I recall correctly, it was Sam.
Justin Jefferson last year was the third pick to Sam. Yes. Very good.
And And that's why he kind of scares me because I think Sam has a history of putting his nasty, nasty stink on players. And I think Jamar Chase, I'd be happy with. I played with Joe Burrow last year, and he was really good to me. And Christian McCaffrey's cool, and he would be a good running back. So probably
Okay.
either of those two I'd be happy with.
That's fair analysis. And who knows with Jefferson? Honestly, if he goes first and gets hurt week one, maybe you're dodging a bullet there. Maybe, you don't have to worry about it. But, every
I
year
would,
there's
I would
one.
hope for that.
Well, every year there's one idiot who makes a pick that makes you go, "What the hell are you doing?" Who do you think makes the worst pick this year?
I don't know, probably Schillinger.
That's fair. He's people have picked him out a few times, so who knows?
He's like
We'll
a
get his
safe
take a little bit
guess.
later. But
Tom's not in the league anymore. I feel like he would have been my answer. Yeah, sure.
all right, cool. Well, let's move on to some predictions for the upcoming season. We'll touch on a couple of real NFL predictions, and then we'll get into some predictions for our league. Kicking off the NFL predictions, though, who do you have as the fantasy MVP player who scores the most points?
Um, Probably either Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, or Christian McCaffrey, whichever one falls to me at the third pick.
Honestly, a safe bet. Now, who you got to win the Super Bowl?
Um, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Another safe pick. Sticking with the safe picks. All right, let's move on to our league here. Obviously, we got the Circle of Shame. Some loser who's got to do something like host a podcast, for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think is going to finish last this year?
Um, I think it's gonna be Tim.
Tim. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I
and he's
I
gonna.
don't.
I think he's gonna play the whole year not wanting to get last because he knows that he fucked up last year. Um, and I think he's gonna get last.
I always like to see someone new finish last. I think it makes it more interesting rather than some repeat finishers. So I wouldn't hate that. But let's flip it around here. You've been near the top a few times. Is it your turn to take home the title, or you think someone else comes home with it?
Um, I think that there's over a 50% chance that I could win.
Okay.
I think I'm at least better than half the league.
That's
And
that's a good bet
and
on yourself.
yeah, and I think I'm confident I'm going to make the playoffs.
Okay.
And once you make the playoffs, anything can happen.
That's true. All you gotta do is get there. You get
Yeah,
dancing, you get hot at the right time, you make that run. You could have a title next to your name. All right, last one for you, and this is kind of what we were talking about earlier, but I got two around our shotgun punishment. Who do you think has the fastest gun, and who does the most
me.
guns this year?
Yeah, me and Nate.
Nate. Wow. I don't know if Nate's ever actually done a gun. I think he did he like pour a beer on his head last year or something.
Generally, you've done quite a few.
Oh, I might have the record for most consecutive weeks doing it. So
Hmm.
I enjoy a good Tuesday morning shotgun, but I'm hoping to dodge those this year. All right, all I got for you now, I got just a few rumors floating out there that I want to get your take on. A couple rumors, a few rumors, couple contentious situations. So we'll dive into those. But first one, obviously, Commissioner announced that he was going to step down in 2040, a good 17 years from now. Any thoughts on the commissioner potentially stepping back and or maintaining control for another 20 years?
Well, I of course forgot that we had an owners meeting, so I did not hear that firsthand, but I did hear it later. Um, I think I think our commissioner likes to drum up controversy to hide some of the other rumors that we've already talked about that are floating around. So I don't think this is much different than that. I would be interested to see even 5, 6, 7 years down the line if he hasn't reversed course on this and kind of moved the goalposts of when he's planning to resign.
I would be surprised to see some goalposts moving, but maybe this is maybe it's one time he's serious. Who knows? But the other thing I want to get your take on around the commissioner, obviously he's sitting there with the 1-1, the first pick. You think that was by coincidence, or you think that was an honest first pick?
I think that's an honest first pick. I do.
Okay,
I think that the draft order is truly random.
all right.
And I
Believe in
think
the commissioner.
and but at the same time, I do think there's one real life reflection, and I think it's Jacko, and I think he is slow in real life when we're talking foot speed, and he's slow in the draft foot race as well. So it makes sense that he is generally towards the bottom of the order.
I mean, Jacko's draft order is just hilarious. He's got three last picks, and this year an 11th pick, so he is always at the end.
Yeah,
I mean, that
hard to
man has
imitate
some
life.
terrible luck. Yeah. Well, now for the last question here, we got to get around to the big topic for you. Obviously, there's some controversy around a 2018 last place finish and the punishment related to that. Um,
Mhm, mhm,
a
mhm.
lot of a lot of different opinions on it. A lot of people floating some different theories on it, but I want to get straight from the source your thoughts on the punishment and what has been the delay in doing it.
I think that I think that what's important to note is that consistently the vocal minority when it comes to our league punishments. I think that um, our commissioner has some obsession with like trying to get on Barstool Sports or something, and so he tries to make the most outrageous punishments ever, and oftentimes they're either feasible or very very hard to accomplish, or just overall too much. And I think that at the time when we created this punishment, I said that it was going to be very hard to do logistically, and I was overruled. And so the first year that it was going to happen, I think that Kokores, maybe Nate, and whoever else was supposed to organize it had forgotten to sign me up, and so they missed the opportunity. And then the next year, the Bulls didn't host a tryout. And then I think for the next 2 years, or maybe three, was like COVID or something like that.
Mhm.
So I think that up until this year, I think it is completely out of my control
Mhm.
that I did not do the tryout. This year, I truly did just have another commitment that weekend because they let
Mhm.
me know it's only one day and I just couldn't do it. So I am fine to do another punishment, like I've said this whole time. But also, like I've said this whole time, it was stupid to think that we were going to be able to do this in the first place. I think that's my take on it.
Obviously it's tough given date specific punishments. Life is happening. There's a lot of things going on, so it can be tough to make certain dates work. And if there's one date a year, obviously that makes it something that's difficult to accomplish. But one last question for you, and that's: is there a specific punishment that you would be willing to do and that you think would be kind of a fair alternative?
I guess the question would be like, would I repeat an old punishment or would we be creating a new punishment for this circumstance? Because I think if it was any of the other like punishments or whatever, I feel like we could like pick it out of a hat. Like
Mhm.
I don't really care because I
I
think
think my
any of those like you can do like whenever. There's not like or you can like plan them more than 2 weeks out.
Yeah, I hear you. I think my take on it is the best solution is probably a punishment that's already been done. But I do think that if we were to come up with a new one, obviously it has to be kind of with your agreement. I think it's tough to come up with a brand new punishment that wasn't agreed to beforehand. So hopefully we can all kind of collaborate, come to a good solution on it. But Steve, thank you very much for giving us your take. Thank you for coming on today. Best of luck in the draft. Best of luck in this upcoming season. Who knows? Maybe this will be the year that we see take a stand, right in the top of the table, taking home a championship.
That would be great. Thank you for having me, Jason.